DreAllDay.com.
Why trashy podcasts are trashy. Now, I don't know how many or if any of you listen to anything other than this show, or you watch other things on YouTube, or you're looking at things on, I don't know what other platforms people are calling what they do podcasting. Everybody calls everything they do podcasts these days. And I have consumed and sampled a good amount of stuff outside of course, my own stuff. I listen to my own show the same way that you all listen to this show, just so I can, first of all, know what I said. And secondly, sometimes I just want to hear back what I said because it reminds me that I said it. Now, being that I have my own show, this one here, I've also guested on several hundred podcasts over the years, probably somewhere in the 500 range of shows that I have been a guest on. And I check into and check out a lot of shows that are out there, even ones that I'm not interested in being a guest on, just because I want to see what people are doing, what people are talking about, what's popular, what subjects people are getting into. And with all this knowledge and observation, I want to share what makes the ones out there that suck bad. Now, there's a reason why I'm talking about this, because these shows are not bad by accident. I don't think they're trying to be bad, but they are bad. Now, them being bad is my objective opinion. I'm going to explain what makes them bad. And if you happen to be listening to a trashy podcast as part of your normal routine, I will help you understand why what you're listening to is trash, because you may be noticing subconsciously that something is missing. I'm going to help you fill in that gap and tell you what's missing. And if you happen to have a trashy podcast, because some of you might have a trashy podcast, I'm going to help you understand what to do about it so that your podcast can stop being trash. And hopefully I will help you from putting out any garbage in the first place if you were thinking about putting out a podcast. You haven't done it yet, but what you are about to put out was going to be trash. Maybe I will save you from putting trash into the marketplace here today with what I'm going to say. And you can thank me later when you put out a show and it is actually good. Now, this show right here, because you may be wondering, well, Dre, who are you? How are you so cocky and so arrogant to say that other people's podcasts are trash? Hey, what if someone thinks that your podcast is trash? Okay, well, my show has been out for almost 10 years. It started in 2016. As of today, what episode is this? If my tracking is correct, this is episode number 3,371. If I have not made any adjustments to the scheduling, that's 3,371 days in a row that this show has been running. The show has been listened to. We are nearing 8 million overall listens of this show in the all-time running of the show. And that's just counting in the audio platforms. It's not counting video platforms. It's not counting any clips that are taken out of social media or anything, anybody downloading it and listening to it offline. Those are all things that we cannot track, but just what we can track, close to 8 million total times someone has listened to an episode of the Work on Your Game Masterclass. And frankly, if I took everything that I've said just on this show, forget about YouTube, forget about my books, forget about my courses, my coaching, everything. I just took the things that I've said here on this show, and I was able to put this into a, let's say, a searchable database. Any questions you could possibly ask about anything that involves personal or professional development, execution, and discipline used at a professional level, you could ask that question, and there's something that I've said on this platform, this very show, that has answered it. And that's what we're building DreGPT, which is my chatbot, 24/7 chatbot. We're building it into being that. The thing is, the bots we still have to keep loading material because we have so much material that you can't even do it at the snap of a finger. That's how deep we've gone here on the show. I'm saying all that to give you the credibility, so to speak, the credentials of what the show is about, and to tell you that my show is indeed not trash. That's why I can look at somebody else's show and say this shit is trash. So let's get into it and let's talk about what makes a trashy show trashy. Number one, why bad podcasts are bad podcasts. Number one, no thought or structure behind it. It is just random banter and talking. If your show is just some people randomly bantering and talking, you have a trashy podcast. And even if it may be entertaining at some parts, there may be some points that be clipped out and put on social media and they go viral or whatever and strike up a whole bunch of conversation. Your show is still trash. It's still trash. I could laugh at something that came off your show and still say, this shit is trash. All right, this is what we call barbershop talk. Men, we call it barbershop talk. Women, you can call it nail salon talk or beauty shop talk. And all it is barbershop talk done on camera. That's what a lot of podcasts are these days. Is barbershop talk on camera. So a bunch of guys get together and or girls, and they sit in a studio somewhere and they get a camera and they all got microphones, and then there's some host who brings up a subject, then the people go around the room talking about it and laughing about it and making jokes, and then other people talk about it, then they take little clips out and they put it on social media, and then something goes viral because everybody has a comment on it, and that's the entire show. That's, again, called barbershop talk. A lot of podcasts these days are basically set in that format, and there's a whole bunch of them copying off each other, and all of these shows are trash. They're all trash. Now, every once in a while, there may be a clip that comes out from one of these shows that even I have an opinion on, and it may even spark an idea for an episode of this show. And even though I'm using them and have an opinion on them, I'll still call their show trash, as I just told you. So when I say trash, it doesn't necessarily mean it is not popular. All right? Something that can be very trashy and popular at the same time. There's a lot of things that fit that description in our world today. The format that I just described is a very popular format, and is often the go-to format for a new show coming out. And I want to talk about why I think that is. 2 or more people get together, they just start shooting the shit, and it's entertaining, maybe even funny. They get some cameras, they record themselves doing it, you put a title on it, and boom, you have a podcast. Problem with this, and the reason I'm calling it trash, is that they're just randomly talking and there's no structure to what they're doing. They're just talking. This is just, again, barbershop talk. That's it. Any of you never been to a barbershop? That's what happens in a barbershop. At least a black barbershop. There's a bunch of people sitting in there, between the barbers and the people who are in the chairs, and the people who are sitting around waiting in the chairs means you're getting your hair cut. Then the people sitting in the waiting area to get into a barber chair, they can all see each other. It's one big room, and there's usually some form of ongoing conversation happening in the barbershop at all times. There are people in the barbershop who sit there for hours and have conversation, and they don't even get their hair cut. Why? Because that's the place that men gather just to have conversations. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Again, Barbershop Talk is not a podcast. There probably is a podcast called Barbershop Talk. But I mean, there's a bunch of guys that are talking in a barbershop. That's not a podcast. That's just people talking. They have a right to do that. You're going to put your stuff out and call it a podcast. You got to give me some structure, give me some thought process behind what you're doing. Again, this is all completely subjective based on my opinion, in case you didn't know. There's only so much random banter I can take from any group of people before I need these people to put some organization and some structure around what they're doing so I can know what to expect. Other than just listening to these people debate and have conversation around current events, what's the structure of what you're doing and why are you giving it to me? If you don't have that, then your show is trash. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is why trashy podcasts are trashy. Number 2, there are no takeaways of substance or any post-show use for visitors. In other words, your show is empty calories. It's audio junk food is what we call that. You eat a bag of chips. It feels good to eat the chips while you are consuming them. But as soon as you're done eating the chips, you're hungry all over again and you got no nutritional value from eating those chips. It made you feel good to eat the chips, but you didn't get any nutritional value from it. That's what happens with a lot of people's podcasts, is that they will entertain you and take your attention away for an hour and a half or 2 hours. But when the show is over, did you learn anything new? Do you have any new knowledge? Do you have anything? Is there anything useful you took away from that 90 minutes that you just gave to that show that will make you a more valuable individual? For a lot of the shows that I described in point number 1, the answer here in point number 2 is absolutely not. They're not giving you anything useful. It's just entertainment. It's candy. And there's a reason why entertainment podcasts, these trashy shows where it's just a bunch of people sitting around talking shit, there's a reason why these are very popular, because most people would rather be entertained than informed. Most people don't want to be challenged to think. Most people don't want to be put in a position where they have to look at the way they look at life and the way they look at things and the way they thought about things and have it challenged or changed in any way, shape, or form. So they would prefer that someone just give them something entertaining, something that can allow me to take my mind and turn it to the off switch and stop thinking and just be entertained for an hour or 2. There's a reason why these shows are very popular. Because most people would rather have that entertainment than to have any type of intellectual, educational challenge. So these shows offer nothing of substance, because substance requires thinking. They don't require any post-show usage, because again, that requires retaining. That requires you have to retain what was said. Then you got to go apply what was said. That also sounds like work, and people don't want to do that. And again, this is why it's junk food. I will reiterate what I said in the first point. When I call your podcast trash, it doesn't mean it's not popular. Often, the case with podcasts, as is the case in life, is that the trashy stuff is way more popular than the stuff of substance. This is usually the case. The trashiest things you can put in your body are what? Junk food, processed foods, and alcohol. Now, let me ask you a question. Are these things all popular? Yes, they are. Potato chips are popular. Processed foods, those are things that come in the middle aisles of a grocery store. Say like chocolate is very popular. And alcohol, very popular. These are the most popular things to get consumed. All of them are more popular than vegetables. So you got to make sure you understand the delineation that I'm drawing here. Again, just because you're popular does not mean that you're good. And just because you're trash does not mean that you are of quality. I mean, just because you're trash doesn't necessarily mean that you're of low quality, but a lot of low quality stuff is trash. All right? It tends to correlate often. This episode is all based, of course, on my perspective. And in my perspective, if you ask me for my time, you better give me something of substance to take away from my investment. That's the type of person that I am. If I give you my time, you better give me something of substance in exchange. In other words, don't ask me for my time and give me a bunch of bullshit that just entertains me, because what you just did was steal time from me. And I'm not here to say that I don't consume entertainment. I consume much less than the average person. But if I do consume entertainment, I'm consuming entertainment while doing something of substance. So if I need to listen to some funny nonsense, I'm doing it while I'm building a funnel on my computer, or while I'm plugging leads into the CRM, or I'm doing some follow-ups on some business that I'm trying to close. I'm never just 100% focused on something that is audio junk food, some entertainment-based material, whether it's TV, video, whatever. I'm never just doing that and giving it my full undivided attention. I don't do that. Same reason why I don't go to concerts. I don't really like going to sporting events. I don't like doing these things, because I have to give my full undivided attention to this entertainment thing. And the amount of time I spend doing that is time that I'm not spending building something of substance. And I just don't like being in that position. And I don't do this as something like, I don't consciously think like this, but I really don't want to spend 3 hours at a basketball game. I don't. All right, send me a link to the 15-minute highlight run through of what happened in the game last night. But I'm not sitting 3 hours just watching a basketball game. I can't do it. I can't give 3 hours of my life to watching somebody else entertain me when I could be spending that 3 hours building something useful. Why would I do that? I'm not saying you have to be like this. This is just the way that I think. So if I give you my time, you better give me something of use. So when I call a podcast trashy, it's because they're not giving me something of use. Podcasts that I'm referring to as trash, they don't give me something of use. They are there to serve the egos of the hosts, because they think that what they're talking about is entertaining enough to put it out, and they think the whole world wants to hear it. Often they're right, because there are people out there who want to hear a bunch of people sitting around talking shit. And you get to entertain the people who are content with entertainment. Right? They don't need takeaways or substance. They just want to be entertained. Most people would rather be entertained than informed. I'm not like most people. And I'm assuming that you are not like most people. And the reason why many people in life tend to get worse over time, because they make a bad investment of investing time into things that don't make them better. That's how you get worse. Because every minute you spend is a good investment or a bad investment. If you spend minutes on bad investments, eventually you get worse. This is how life works. It's the law of entropy. I refuse to be part of this group of people. But this group is an extremely large group of people. All right, so again, you can be very popular while being trash. And there are people who have decided to serve them, and I don't knock those people for deciding to get into that game. If I wanted to get into the game of just doing barbershop banter and entertainment, I could do it very easily. I just don't want to, because it's just not the way that I think. I don't want my brain going in that direction. I could program my brain to go in that direction, where I'm just looking for ways to entertain people at all times, but I don't want to. I understand that there are people who have decided that they want some actual substance. Those are the people who I'm talking to. And there are people out there who don't want substance. They want to hear a damn thing that I have to say. They want the entertainment, and they don't want to have to be challenged to think. And okay, you'll pay for that with your investment. And people who decide to look at people like me and listen to people like me, you'll pay for it with your investment. Every investment pays back. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is why trashy podcasts are indeed trash. Number 3, there's no real work behind what they are doing. They're not really doing any real work. This is surface level. A lot of these shows are surface level content that doesn't really have any lasting power, meaning it comes today and is gone tomorrow. If you stop publishing, if you listening to this, if you have a trashy podcast, based on my description here today, and you stopped putting out your show, what would the audience miss? This is a question you should ask yourself. If you're publishing anything these days on a consistent basis, if you stop publishing, what would be missing from the marketplace because you are no longer publishing? Is there anything? The answer may be nothing. If the answer is nothing, then your shit is probably trash, as I've been describing so far today. If you stop putting your stuff out, there should be people out there who knew who you were who are going to say, damn, I miss fill in the blank with whatever you were bringing to the table that nobody else is bringing to the table because you're not here anymore. Nobody else is offering this thing now that this person is gone. That thing is what you do, and this person would be you. You got to fill in that blank. And if you're putting out material that cannot fill in those blanks, then what you're putting out is more likely than not trash. Okay, that's what it is, garbage. And I'm saying this. No, we cannot pretend as if entertainment is on an equal level as value is not. And entertainment can be missed, and entertainment on some level can be valuable. There are some people who just miss the fact that a silly show is no longer out there in broadcasting. That's the thing too. But again, that's the same as someone having withdrawals from taking illicit drugs or from eating ice cream and candy bars. Yes, you have withdrawal symptoms from no longer eating candy bars every day, but that doesn't mean not eating candy bars is a bad thing. It's a good thing. The withdrawals are actually a positive withdrawal because you got some garbage out of your life. You understand? See, the kind of material that I'm talking about when I say material of substance is not just material that are useful for things that are actually useful for the listener. But I'm not just talking about things that are things that are just entertainment for social media comment sections. Because people who are commenting on social media, as a general rule, a lot of people commenting on social media ain't got shit going on anyway. That's why they're commenting on social media. Now, I leave comments on social media. That's why I said as a general rule. I'm not saying every single person. You got to give people something that is going to be useful. I need some, not just some random banter, something I can actually use in my actual life after I heard it from you. And any show that's just random banter, somebody else will replace your random banter with something else. So there's 3 guys sitting around having barbershop talk and they shut down their show. Well, 10 more groups of 3 guys are going to pop up with their own show trying to do their version of that exact same thing. Anytime something looks to be working, it seems to be working, a bunch of people are going to come out and try to copy it. I've had people try to make cheap imitation versions of this very show, where it's them talking solo and they try to get on the mic and talk every day about some personal and professional development thing. The problem is they're trying to sound like my style, and you can't sound like my style. They're trying to take the things that I've said and say it in their own way. You can't do it, and they end up failing. And their shows end up in the podcast graveyard because after they do about 4 or 5 episodes, they realize that they can't keep it up, and that's it. We never hear from them again. And again, I've seen some of these shows. I'm looking at like, this mofo was just copying my shit. And then I look up their name. I'm like, this person has bought programs and products from me. They listen to my podcast. They try to copy my style, copy my titles and everything, and they couldn't keep it going. Why? Because when you have no true substance, it eventually becomes obvious. There's nothing unique or a signature, so to speak, about the platforms that some of these people have. They're easily copied by the next group. Now, if someone tries to copy you, that's one thing. And if they fail, then that should tell you and them something. And a lot of people are easy to copy because what you're doing ain't really nothing to it. So if I gather some friends together and we have a weekly conversation talking shit about what's happening in the world of basketball or talking about rap music, that could be an entertaining conversation. It might be, it might not be. But if we stop publishing, then again, another group of friends would come along, they would do the same thing. So it's not like you're missing anything because I stopped being around. And it wouldn't be that much different in terms of subject matter. Delivery would be different, but the subject matter would be the same. If I stop doing this show, on the other hand, there's no one in the marketplace who could replicate this. If I stop publishing the Work on Your Game show, there is no one in the marketplace that could do what I do on this platform solo every single day the way that I do it and have done it for the last 10 years. Not a single person, nobody. That's because I bring substance. And that's the juxtaposition I'm drawing between substance and trash. Let's recap today's class, which is why trashy podcasts are indeed trashy. And in case any of you didn't know, if you have a trashy podcast, I will help you figure it out here today. Number 1, there is no thought or structure behind it. It is just random banter or talking. So barbershop talk, beauty salon talk, people just sitting around talking. Again, can be entertaining, doesn't mean it's useful. Number 2, no takeaways of substance or post-use for the listeners. If you're going to ask me for my time, you better give me something useful. You better make me smarter, better make me more enlightened. You better be giving me some good questions to ask. Better give me something of substance if you're asking me for my time. And if you can't do that, then you're trash. And number 3, there's no real work being done behind it. All right, for me to talk about what I talk about here on this show, I really think about what do I want to talk about? What subject do I want to get out there? And what would I say to put some meat on the bones of any topic that I come up with? And if I can't come up with some meat on the bones of things that I think about, then I don't record it. I've had 1,000 thoughts of things that I thought maybe I could do a podcast episode on this or a masterclass episode on that, but I couldn't really figure out anything to say to flesh it out. And I decided, okay, I'm not going to do that one. And I don't talk about the same subject. I don't do the same one over and over again. Now, I've addressed different subjects from different angles. I'm not going to do like another version of the exact same thing that I've done in the past. And if I do, I did it by accident. All right, do real work behind it. All right, go deeper than the surface and have some real lasting power to what you say. One of the things I say about this show is that you can go back 800 episodes of this show, 1,000 episodes, 2,000 episodes of this show, and pull whatever episode that was, and the content of that material will still be as valuable today as it was the day I recorded it. that's what it sounds like to have substance. And a lot of shows out there, there's no substance because the people who are doing them have no substance. So you can't get substance out of someone who doesn't have any. All that said, speaking of substance, I know you have substance professionally of what you do. You want to make sure you're executing with that substance with the right mentality and the right strategy. And of course, getting the outcomes that you want to get. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Look at our programs. Choose the one that makes the most sense for you. And let's get started and making sure you get the ROI from the substance that you already have to offer to the marketplace. Work on your game. DreAllDay.